Hey YouTube viewers, this is Donnie Smith and welcome to this video series that is designed to help you pass the ASE exam. Now this video series is specifically for the paint refinish, and what we're going to do is we'll go through the task and give you the knowledge to pass the test. What this is not really your prep test type book. It's not just test questions. If you want that, there is a link down in the description. You can get more information about that. What this is, this basically goes through all the tasks that you will need to know to pass the test. In this video, we're going to be talking about undercoating. It's B10 in the refinish and painting, and it's identifying a complementary color of undercoat to improve coverage. Now, before we start talking about undercoatings, first let's talk about paint real fast. Paint consists of three things. The first one is pigment, and that's basically the color. And then you got solvents, that breaks the color down into a liquid form that it can be sprayed or applied. And then you have binders, which acts like a glue. It holds it all together. And you also have some additives like aluminum for metal flake, mica for pearls, and there's some others as well. Now with this in mind, some colors have more pigment than others. So that means that the ones that have less pigment, less color in it, is going to be more transparent than a color that has a lot of pigment. So getting the correct color is going to start with the undercoat, because if it's a translucent color, for example silver, it has a lot of the aluminum for metal flakes and has a lot of binders and solvents, and it doesn't have that much pigments. So that is a more translucent color than, for example, a white. So this means that paints that are translucent, and that basically just means that you can see through, it's hard to hide, hard to cover with these translucent colors. It's going to take more paint to cover that. So the undercoating is going to play a part in the final finish. So if the color is translucent, the darker the undercoating, the darker the color is going to be. The lighter the undercoat is, the lighter it's going to be. So let's take some different colors of undercoating. Let's just go from light to dark. And then we're going to apply transparent blue on top of that. And see, depending on the color underneath, it's going to change what color of blue that is, what shade of blue. And we had a transparent red, it's the same thing. It depends on the undercoat, is going to change the overall color. Now traditionally, undercoating was designed to help achieve color hiding faster. For example, one color of high pigment undercoating will reduce the number of coats of base coat needed to achieve full hiding. However, with the transparent colors, the undercoating is going to play a part, like we talked about, the blue and red, of the overall color. So the undercoat becomes very crucial in order to get the correct color match. Depending on the products and system that you're using, a primer sealer can be used, a primer surfacer, or even a base coat can be used as an undercoating. Primer sealer is applied to the surface after it's been all prepped, sanded, ready in the booth, masked, wiped down. Once it's ready to paint, you apply primer sealer, and then you allow that to flash. You don't sand it or anything like that. And once it's flashed off, then you can apply your base coat. And you're gonna have to read your technical data sheet for the specific product that you're using. But anywhere from 10, 15, 30 minutes, just depending on what the technical data sheets, and it's usually 1 to 2 coats. But it's always good, because every system's different. To read that technical data sheet for that certain product. But you apply your primer sealer, allow it to flash, and then you put your base coat straight on top of that. Some paint companies make primer surfacer that's in the correct shades. They may have the different shades of gray, or you can intermix them, but to get the correct undercoat color, and then that you do have to sand. Primer surfacer has to be sanded. But once you get that block sanded, final sanded, then you can pull it in the booth, and where you had primed at, let's say you're doing a repair, and now you've got that area primed, you've already got the correct undercoat color, so then you can apply your base coat straight on top of that. And like I said, every product's different. There's some primer surfacers that can be tinted. It just depends on the company that you're using. So be sure, like I keep mentioning it, but be sure to read that technical data sheet and follow the system, follow the recommendations, to eliminate any type of problems that could arise. Now another option is a base coat. Base coat could be used as a undercoat. Because basically we're just trying to get that correct grayscale. So if you're using a base coat, it's going to be high pigments, probably mixing like white and black together to get the correct color. And one thing about this and the primer surfacer, if you're doing that, you can't have any burn throughs or anything like that. You want the surface needs to be ready to paint it, so you don't want any metal spots or anything like that. So if you block sanded your primer, you didn't burn through, sand through to any metal, you can apply that base coat on top of that primer surfacer, and then you can apply your regular base coat on top of that. You may ask, why not just use additional coats of base coat, instead of using this grayscale base coat if you're using this method? Well, the paint that you're going to use is going to be a high pigment. Let's say that you're shooting silver or something translucent. You could put a number of coats of that, and it's still not going to hide what's underneath that. It's not going to hide your primer spot or anything like that. So it's important that you use a high pigment, which is it's usually going to be black and white, and you mix together to get that correct grayscale. Again, it's going to depend on the company that you're using. But you put one coat of that, and then you can come back and put your translucent color. And in fact, there's a better explanation of this. PPG has a video, and I'll put it down here in the description. If you're on my website, the video is also embedded down here. But I'll put that down there, and it does a good job of explaining why you'd want to do that. This is more important with the base coat that we found, because on the base coat, a lot of times on the edges of your sealer, you can kind of see that ring, where that rough edge of the sealer. So this kind of eliminates that problem, and you get the correct grayscale at the same time. So be sure and check that other video out too, and it'll explain what I'm talking about. But basically, as far as this task, I just wanted to mention the things that can be used as an undercoat, and that's a primer surfacer, primer sealer, or base coat. And its main job is for hiding, to hide what's underneath that so that you can get the correct color match. So to figure out what the correct grayscale is, that's going to depend on your paint company. With the paint that I use, PPG, you look that coat up, and once you do that, it will tell you, once you look at the paint coat up, it'll give you the exact grayscale that you need. And then you can mix it with what system you're using, or if you wanted to use the base coat, it'll tell you how to mix that and get that exact color for the undercoating. It is my goal to keep these videos short, so that's all we're going to cover in this video. Just give you little chunks at a time, let you absorb that, and then you can watch the next video. Down below is a link to the test prep books that I have, but also there's a link that'll take you to all these videos if you're wanting to go through more than one video at a time and take you through the entire playlist. So be sure and check that out to go through the ones that I've already uploaded. And as they become available, they'll also be put on this site as well. Thanks for watching this video. I hope this helps, and good luck with your ASE exam.